Welcome back to Permission Slip Granted. What happens when you leave the religion you were raised in, or realize you never really had one? In this raw taboo talk episode, we explore the tangled, beautiful path of reclaiming spirituality. From fear-based faith to intuitive rituals. This isn't about finding the right belief. It's about finding yourself within something sacred. From leaving Mormonism and reworking spiritual tools that once felt forbidden, to growing up around faith but always feeling like an outsider, to reflecting on how religion shapes early life. We talk about leaving the faiths we were raised in and what came after, why woo-woo might actually be wisdom, how intuition, ritual, and nature became our new sacred, and the difference between performance and presence within spiritual spaces. This episode isn't about giving answers, it's about making space. Wherever you are on your journey, skeptical, curious, disconnected, or all in, there's a seat for you here.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our discussions within the theme of taboo talk. And today we are going to talk about spirituality and why we feel that fits within the taboo territory is that talking about faith still makes people feel uncomfortable. And typically because it's tied to religion. So we want to be able to unpack that a little bit today, share a little bit about where each of us has come from in our growing up experiences with our families, where we're at now. And I think it's probably pretty safe to say that most of us, even if there are religious ties still, I don't think the three of us operate within the traditional religious framework anymore. And so we want to dive a little bit into that and then also explore the truth within us and how we find that, what has been helpful for us, and why we get so excited about coaching and how that ties into this. So that's a little bit of a roadmap of the things we want to discuss today. So let's start it off with a question. What does spirituality mean to you today? And we can each take a turn. And I'm assuming there's going to be a little bit of backstory there for, what it used to mean to you.
Okay. Well, I can go ahead and jump on.
Yeah. Go ahead, jump in.
So what is spirituality to me today? Today, there's a lot of questions in the realm of spirituality that are unanswered. And from a person that I know Kristen can relate, is I am the type of person that wants answers as well. I want to know why. I want to connect the dots before the dots connect. And I've had to really take a step back and suffer through that. But on the other side of that suffering has been a lot of growth. But a common denominator with spirituality for me today, up until my first breath to right now, is love and what that means to me.
Oh, we lost her for a minute there.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
It's making a great
I know. It is, yes. Oh man.
Aww.
I know. That stinks.
I continue.
Should we text her?
Or wait.
Oh, I think we got you.
Okay.
No, I see it. I
Yeah, we
think
can't
what's
hear you
going to have to
now.
happen is
Oh.
me coming back to this chair, because I don't think I get good.
Yeah, we can hear you
reception in
totally
that
fine
room.
now. And don't
I
worry.
can hear you now. Yeah.
No, I had to come over here this morning because for some reason that room, I lose connection. Okay.
All right. So you were talking about love.
You said love. Yeah.
Yes. So something that from the day I was born to now, something that just connects spirituality for me is love and how I define that. And that is constantly changing for me as I'm growing. And I have to be open to that. I used to have a closed mindset when it comes to religion, I guess you could say. Religion helped me find my spirituality. I think it's because religion serves me, or it has served me in my life, from putting in that discipline. Discipline, spending time with God. Discipline in how I connected to my spiritual side on a day-to-day basis. If I hadn't have done that, I don't know how I would have found spirituality now, if that makes sense. So I grew apart from religion because I couldn't be put in a box. You can't put God or love in a box. That means if you leave a certain place, or you can only love certain people, that doesn't sit well with me. And so I had to leave religion and connect with the divine. And I'm still walking that journey. So there isn't a set answer that I can give you, but how I see love, how I feel love, and how I best love the ones around me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I do like that. I like what you said. And, a lot comes up, I think, when you talk about spirituality and trying to define it. And one of the reasons why I think that is because there's such a relative space to be held here, right? Everybody practices spirituality in what feeds them, what feels them, like what they connect to. And there's so many layers to that. And so we can't say spirituality is this, spirituality is that, because it's going to be different for everybody. Even the three of us in this room, like that is like, I want to emphasize that, like there's no right or wrong here. Right. And I think the institution of religion, I like what you said there, Sydney, but about being put in a box, because I too felt that, I had, I don't know, I think I was like 14, 15 when I really had this, like, I'm going to youth group, I'm leading the choir, like I'm doing these things that gave me a foundation of what values should have looked like on paper. But then when things got tough, it was like there's a judgment, the hypocrites, all these things that just didn't align with my core values of who I was. And that's when I was like, I don't want to do with any of these people. This institution is just full of hypocrisy. Like, I don't want to associate with this. So then, like, I completely turned away from religion, but I never lost sight of my spirituality. And what I mean by that is I've always known who I was intrinsically. And that, I think, stays with you, like, for your whole life. And then I love you brought this idea of like when I was born to when I die, like your spirituality lives within you. And I want to remind people of that. It has nothing to do with your religion and what your faith construction is in your life, right? So for me, to answer that question is I really like to connect with my inner self, having that self-awareness, the introspection, the mindfulness, my ethics and my values, living out in my authentic life and who I am and how I carry that throughout myself. And the integrity, the compassion, the empathy that I have is linked to that spirituality that I carry.
Yeah. So a couple of things came up as I was listening to both of you. I will answer the question, I promise. I love that we were on a similar wavelength, Kristen, because I heard, and for some reason it just resonated differently today, in that spirituality is a personal experience, whereas religion is like an external, more community-based experience, right? Like the difference being internal, external. Like I just heard that in both of what you were saying. The other thing that's coming up for me is, you both say that you are people who want the answers to the questions, right? And what I find fascinating is that I don't think that that's a unique experience. I think that is why religion exists, because it's from one founded person saying this is the answer to those questions. And so then we have these different factions within the world arguing about whose founder had the right idea. And so it was just interesting to me, the tie of this is who you are. I think that's who most of us are. And I think religion
Yeah.
attempts to answer that. And for some, they feel it does. But for others,
Yeah.
it's just a non-negotiable. I don't want that. So I'll segue into, because I was definitely raised within the religious framework. This will not be the unpacking episode of Kylie's Mormon experience, by the way. But the framework that I grew up in was extremely restrictive. There were no other options. I was going to grow up to be a mother, maybe get a college degree in case my husband, Freudian slip, in case my husband dies at some point and I have to support me and my kids. But like only certain degrees are acceptable, like being a teacher or like accounting and those kinds of things that are easy to pick up and leave. Although I don't know any teachers that it's easy to pick up and leave, but that was kind of and again, nobody sat me down and told me this shit, right? That was one of the most fascinating pieces of my recent connecting healing journey, is that like realizing how much messaging we get as a subconscious messaging that we get as children that forms so much of these expectations, right? We could do a whole conversation on that. So that's the framework I grew up in, and spirituality and religion were the same. They were not separate.
Okay.
You had spiritual experiences within Mormonism, right? Like you had to have the framework in order to have truth, in order to have faith, in order to experience miracles. It had to be within the framework. Everything else outside of that was just tricking you. That was the devil. That was people trying to lead you away from God's full truth. So fast forward to leaving, and that's again a whole other episode. And what it looks like today. Today, it's very, for my tagline, unconventional. It's kind of a blending of things. I definitely use certain tools to help me connect with self and connect with universe. Things like tarot cards, oracle cards, crystals, things like that. I do a lot more getting in touch with the season, the natural cyclical nature of the world and of the end of life. Celebrating harvest as we go into fall, the light coming back, middle of winter, those types of things. But there is absolutely no pressure, and it's beautiful, external or internal, to have to do things a certain way, do it the same way I did it last time, have to mold my entire living experience around this specific thing. It is very much more a part of my lived experience and not so much what shapes it. So yeah.
Something's coming up for me here, and in the way that you're speaking about what it is that how you practice, and it's like almost protecting your energy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
So
you for
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you for sharing that. Like, and both of you guys, actually, like the conversations, like where they go, and like what comes up when we have these conversations. It's where we're going with them is I want to say that when we were talking about this topic, there was a lot of resistance for me, and I think the reason like was kind of revealed for me right now is because as you were talking, this is like what came up for me. I was like, oh my gosh, why did I have this resistance? And then you said something about you didn't have anybody who told you. And then you talked about how children, we pick up these things subconsciously. And then I'm thinking of like my environment around me. And it was honestly, I can think of my mom telling me, you don't have to go to church to love God. You don't have to go to church to be a Christian. You can practice wherever you want. And I think that that's really rooted into why I always knew my spirituality was separate,
Mm.
right? But for somebody like you, it's like nobody told you that. And nobody told me specifically that, but it was like subconsciously around me, I was like, I got to choose to go to church. I got to choose to go to the events and the camps and all the things that I wanted to do because I liked the energy that I was getting in those moments. But again, when it got tough, and then I was not following the same path as everybody else, that's when there was resistance that was coming up. And I think that I'm protecting that feeling again of like, oh my gosh, if I reveal this right now, like I'm not in the institution anymore. I don't go, and I don't like, I go for me when I want to go. Like my kids go, we go to church when it serves us, not because we feel like we have to. It's not this every day, but like I still unequivocally believe in my whole heart, my divine intervention. When I say those words, that is my God, that is my Jesus, because that's what I still intrinsically believe in. So I'm not taking away, I don't know, like there's something coming up for me right now. It's just like, I don't know, like am I protecting that part of me still? Like, where is this resistance in me? I'm having this conversation. And this is why this is taboo, right? Like somebody like me, I'm struggling. Was like, I don't have these conversations openly in my community. Like there's people that I'm close to, and yeah, I know like who goes to church and who doesn't and this and that. But I really don't care about it. So why am I putting that emphasis on back on me? So I just wanted to be vulnerable here for a second because this is a taboo talk, but I didn't realize it was a taboo talk for me until you guys started talking about it. Yeah.
Well, what's coming up for me, I love that. It's like shit that only coaches say. What's coming up for me? You know what I mean? Yeah, but I'm trying to connect the two of y'all. I've been thinking, okay, there's something here. You're saying, Kristen, that you had to separate the two. And Kylie, what we are hearing is everything's spiritual in a way because she's protecting her energy. Energy is spiritual. The higher our energy is, the more likely we are going to connect with our spiritual side. And Kristen, like, it seems like there were spiritual experiences while you were in a religious institution.
Yes, absolutely.
And and there's no right or wrong. I think an act of living is figuring out how to protect our energy, how to be our most authentic self, how to live out our life, our purpose, right? And you can't separate spirituality from anything, whether it be a low spiritual experience, it's still an experience and you're still vibrating, right? And alignment is coming into an energetic alignment with your whole life's purpose, whether it be a bad experience, a religious experience. It's like putting, I don't know, something with sand. You can't undo it, right? And you just can't. You can't. So I think it's just finding our way and living and finding what is true to ourselves. And I think maybe sitting with that, and you're perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think what I'm taking from that and what I want to take with me from that little message there is offering myself comfort in finding my purpose, because I think that is always the journey that I'm on right now. It's like, especially the chapter that I'm in today is I'm still trying to figure out what that is. What's that legacy? What's that purpose? What am I here for? And I need to allow myself to be comfortable with not having the answers.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, because I feel it speaks to so many people, including myself. Like, who in this room can raise their hand and say, I know exactly where I'm going. I've always known, and everything's gone perfectly, and my life is planned out, and I know all the answers. No one.
My response to that is you have an idea, you take the action, and then you fall back down, and then you have to pick yourself back up. And it's like, it's not a straight line. It's not like a line going up. It's literally, I think of that chart going like this. It's like, I'm gonna try, fail, try, fail, try. Okay, we're going. Oh crap, we're falling down again. It's like it's reset, restart, rediscover. It's always gonna and then that's what I want to like preface here too for myself and just the place of acceptance today is also knowing that things can change, right? And being okay with that. Because like sometimes there's such a resistance to change for people, and that change can be scary. And when I think about my spiritual journey that I've gone on, knowing parts of myself and being able to break up and separate and change into the person I'm becoming has been the most beautiful blessing in my life. And accepting who that person is and loving her today and
Yeah.
not being so angry at her for her mistakes or the failures or not getting things right or the pressure or the guilt, whatever it is, whatever layer that I added on there. And so I just want to invite everybody here, if they're carrying that weight, this is your permission to let that ish go, right? Yeah.
It's interesting to me because as I'm listening, I'm hearing that, you know, spirituality basically is becoming comfortable with uncomfortable, because it's that acceptance of, I don't know what the answers are. These things help me connect with myself. These things help me feel empowered, which then helps me turn around and move forward in the way that I want to in this world and, impact others and all of those other things. So I'm just remembering a conversation, not to do with spirituality, but that you had recently with me, Kristen, where you're like, I'm tired of struggling, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like that's what religion, and this is again my opinion, religion offers to people is this hope that
Mhm.
by choosing this path, this expression of spirituality, it won't be so hard anymore because you'll have answers. When in reality, that's not necessarily truth. That could be somebody's experience and their perception, right? But it's just one way, right? So for some people it's science, right? For some people it's like witchcraft magic shit. Like that's much more what speaks to me. And I'm not talking like wave your wand and Guardium Leviosa,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm talking about you know intentions, manifestation, because it's all about where I put my mind and I put my energy. That's what's going to come forth. That to me is when I say witchcraft and I do shit like that, that's what I'm talking about, right? But so that's what speaks to me, and that's what helps me be comfortable in the uncomfortable, because I don't have the answers. So there's
Yeah.
different expressions of this lived experience that we have of not knowing where the fuck we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And accepting and that space also of acceptance of not knowing, because if you threw me in a car and you told me to just get somewhere without a map, I'd be like, "Ah." But that's what life is, right? It's like you gotta have the courage to try. And I think also I just want to remind everybody that it's so powerful to have that self-awareness,
Mm.
because you can open up so many deep parts of yourself that allows you to just live more freely. That has been my journey. It's like the weight and the gravity that used to hold me back is slowly being peeled off based on my actions to be more aware of who I am in my own spirituality and my purpose. And even though I don't have the answers, I'm more comfortable leaning into it. That leaning into the discomfort, Kylie. you know? Yeah, I want to ask real quick before we wrap up, if there's some things that you guys do to I know Kylie, you shared a little bit about your spirituality, but like Sydney, if you could touch on, like you said love was like really big for you. Is there something that you do to practice that, to like like just to get you to be connected to that part of your spirituality?
Again, I feel like I'm redundant on some of these episodes. people and the relationships that I've had, whether they have been platonic or romantic, the way people have connected to me. I'm a natural extrovert, and and I'm, like I said, coming out of an introverted season, it's been a big growth spurt that I've had, a spiritual growth spurt. I've needed, this solitude and this time so that I could look inward and find love myself, to define love myself. And that has been the hardest journey, I think, for me. But along the way, it's so crazy. There have been the most incredible people that have just come into my life. Unexpected. My eyes weren't even open, or they weren't even on my radar, but we just collided, if that makes sense. And they were exactly who I needed at that moment and at that time. And the things they teach me, the way we connect, I learn and I alter a little bit what my definition of love is.
I'm
Does that
hearing a lot of, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of openness here. You're open
Yes,
to receiving.
I
I
am.
think that's what I'm taking with the
And
message that you're receiving.
the
That was
funniest thing is that I used to never ask for help. Like growing up,
Mm.
I never asked for help. I didn't know how to receive other than from family, really mom and dad. But like when someone was giving towards me, I didn't know. And I recently, over the last 5 years, met a girl. I had the best girl friendship there ever was. And she taught me how to receive.
Mm.
And that's a different type of love that has changed my entire life. So it's not just giving, it's receiving. It's not just
Yeah.
running, it's resting. It's love
balance.
is, so the verse, love is patient, love is kind. I started with that verse, growing up, and I would always put people that I thought fit that part or certain parts of that verse. I would write their name down. And I'm sure
Mm.
if you've grown up in church or you've read the Bible, like you've maybe come across that experience, but nobody can fit that. Sydney is this, Sydney is that, like, all of that all at once, all
Yeah.
the time. So it's beautiful. It's like a mosaic painting of my relational life, to reflect back on those experiences and those relationships where I can put people who really taught me just that little teeny part of that verse, right? And I realized, like, we're not meant to do life alone. We're not meant to,
Mm.
I've never asked for help. We're
Right.
meant to be in fellowship, in relations, and in relationships, you learn so much about yourself, but you also like learn and you grow.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. I'm gonna go on a soap TED Talk, whatever, but I hope that answers your question. But
Yeah, no, you did. And I think that the big takeaway for me is being open, like your openness to just the people around you and what is coming into your life, and receiving it in a way. So yeah, no, you definitely gave me something there that answered what I was looking for. So thank you,
I
ladies.
get it.
Yeah, I just want to hop in and say, I heard introspection, I heard reflection as well as important things.
Mhm.
So, in looking at your own spirituality, to anybody who's listening, consider this your permission to explore, right? That you don't
Yes.
pick one path, you don't have to get it right. There's air quotes there, to be spiritual. It's a sacred mix of maybe religion for some, journaling, meditation, astrology, energy work, nature, connecting with self, right? But find the, rituals, as it were, that fit for your lived experience, that bring you peace and grounding, because that's going to allow your most authentic self to thrive.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. We will see you next time.
If your truth started buzzing beneath the surface while you were listening, follow it. That's your magic calling you forward. And we're here to walk with you. Each of us hosts coaches clients just like you. Sydney supports people reclaiming their worth beyond performance and perfection. Kristen helps individuals unlock their true potential by building confidence and self-worth. And as for me, I'm Kylie, and I coach unconventional humans navigating the hard, beautiful work of becoming who they were always meant to be. You'll find links to connect with us, learn more about us, or apply to work together in our show notes. We'd love to meet you right where you are. Be sure to subscribe or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss the permission slip you didn't know you needed. Whether you're looking for support, have a topic you want us to unpack, or just need to drop a comment, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.